Good morning. It is Monday, March 6, 2023. I'm Pearson Bowen and this is the CBC Morning Report. United Nations member states have finally agreed to a text on the first international treaty to protect the high seas, a fragile and vital treasure that covers nearly half the planet. After 15 years of negotiations, negotiators from more than 100 countries completed the UN treaty, a long-awaited step that environmental groups say will help reverse marine biodiversity losses and ensure sustainable development.
Ladies and gentlemen, the ship has reached the shore.
Celebrations at the UN. After 15 years of negotiations, its ambassador for oceans announces a deal. The UN High Seas Treaty will designate 30% of the world's oceans as protected areas by 2030. Fishing and shipping lanes will be restricted and more funding provided for marine conservation.
This is a treaty no one knew was really going to land, and last night it did. And that's a testament to really, really hard work by very dedicated individuals over an unprecedented session, this final one that went over 48 hours. So that's one I just want to celebrate, and there's hard work ahead, an unclear path. There'll be speed bumps, but we've just had a really big win.
Only 1% of the world's international waters is currently protected. Most marine life is threatened by climate change, overfishing and shipping. Activists describe this agreement as a breakthrough and a sign that in a divided world, protecting nature can triumph over geopolitics.
This is an enormously important outcome for the world. It provides an opportunity for us to better manage and regulate environmentally harmful activities in the nearly half of the planet that falls beyond national jurisdiction, the high seas. This has implications for all of us, all around the world.
The treaty will now be studied by lawyers and translated into the UN's 6 official languages before being formally adopted.
And co-executive director of Greenpeace UK, Will McCullum, gives insight into what's next now that there is an agreement.
Getting 193 countries to agree on anything is always going to take quite a long time. But the pandemic got in the way. These talks were due to conclude in March 2020. And so for the last 3 years, I think some of us have felt like we've been treading water. And that's why last night was so exciting, because it allows us to put this process behind us and start looking at the future, what governments now need to do. What the governments can now do that this treaty allows them to do is to put large areas of the ocean off limits to human activity, to actually start putting ocean health at the top of their priority list.
Well, I understand there was some disagreement about how to deal, in particular with marine genetic resources and how they would be shared between rich and poor countries. Can you talk us through that, and if that dynamic, which we've seen in so many other climate talks, if that's still a problem?
Well, we haven't seen the final text until it gets translated, but we do know that that huge round of applause that we heard at the end to us signaled that a way through had been found, that what we will hopefully see is that marine genetic resources, so that's, say, the genetic sequence of a deep-sea sponge on the seabed that could become the next aspirin if used right by a pharmaceutical company, that the benefits of anything that is found in this vast area, which belongs to all of us, the high seas, will be shared equitably between countries. That's what we were asking for. That's what countries from across the global south were asking for. And that's what we believe that they've won.
Well, that's huge. Well, so this is also a treaty, right? So it's then legally binding, but it's still yet to enter into force. And even if or when it does, how do you even begin to enforce something like this?
Well, the treaty provides the mechanism for countries to come together on a regular basis and actually hold each other accountable. So there will be a conference of the parties, a COP, like the climate COP, there will be a high seas COP. Countries will come together and they'll be able to discuss issues such as enforcement. For something like a marine protected area, the proposal for that area will have its own monitoring and enforcement plan attached to it. So there are lots of different bits that will need to be enforced, and it will still require political will to be enforced. But we've seen a huge movement from across the world, more than 5 million people calling on governments to bring this treaty into force. And we hope that that movement now moves with us to the next phase and starts calling on governments to enforce this treaty.
Coming up on the CBC Morning Report, Barbados and Trinidad improve on services for the disabled.
While you go about your business, we go about our business, and that is gathering the news. Stay up to date at CBC News Barbados on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Get news update on radio throughout the day. And join us for the CBC News Night at 7 every night. CBC News team is on the job and bringing you the news.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country? Well, we at Mornin Barbados would love to have you or them on our Bajan of our segment. Share your amazing stories, experiences, and how you have adapted to a new culture. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.vb. And together we will travel the world.
Enjoy movies, soaps, drama, comedy, inspiration, education, music, and more. You get it all when you get MCTV, because MCTV gives you more.
One regional agency has donated much-needed equipment to help members of the deaf community be in a better earning position. The Caribbean Policy Development Center has gifted the Deaf Heart Project with computers, which are being used to teach entrepreneurial skills to the deaf. CPDC believes the European Union-funded project will allow them to have more sustainable livelihoods. Geneva Oliver, Project Development Specialist, says CPDC is looking to do more.
Caribbean Policy Development Center is really passionate about the causes of the vulnerable in our population. We have been mandated to really amplify the voices and build the capacity of the most vulnerable in our region, and not just in Barbados. So initiatives like this really feed into the heart of what we do. So we look forward, as Kristen would have indicated, to many more of these initiatives. And we also look forward to other entities in society really pitching in and partnering to ensure that we have more of these projects.
One of the participants, Maud White, who has been attending the Deaf Entrepreneurship Program sessions at the Young Men's Christian Association, says she's been learning a lot.
This class has been really wonderful experience. I've learned a lot of things. Learned a lot of things on the computer. It has opened my eyes on how I could make my own website, how to set up a business, and all these things.
Trinidad and Tobago's National Library and Information System Authority and the country's Blind Welfare Association have signed a memorandum of understanding to provide more accessible services for the blind, visually impaired and print disabled.
The signing of the Memorandum of Understanding between the National Library and Information System Authority, NALIS, and the Trinidad and Tobago Blind Welfare Association, the TTBWA, is critical to the continued accessibility of resources for the blind, visually impaired, and print-disabled VIPs in TNT. Chairman of the board at NALIS, Neil Parsonlal, said the agreement will promote the TTBWA's motto of diversity, equity, and inclusion.
By what we do today, we are ensuring that there's so much more inclusion that can take place for the persons with who are visually impaired. And if that is the only thing we're able to do as a board and NALIS, I think our living would not have been in vain.
Executive Officer of the TTBWA, Kenneth Surratt, hopes that with the signing of the MOU, school books and Caribbean books will be more accessible, particularly those written by local authors.
And what do we mean by accessible? Because a lot of people don't really understand what accessible means. That means Braille, large print, audio, digital format, and Braille is moving. You see our paper here? Braille, we are hoping that we could put a Braille display in every child's hand, every adult who wants to learn Braille.
Meanwhile, Minister of Social Development and Family Services Donna Cox said the MOU gives autonomy to NALIS and the TTBWA to provide accessible content to the blind, visually impaired, and print disabled. This, she said, can lead to increased opportunities for personal and professional development.
And I am pleased that the Blind Welfare of Trinidad and Tobago will provide the expertise for training in the use of assistive technologies, as well as the resources to conduct classes such as Braille, computer and music literacy, typing and craft.
Bermuda's first independent living program was unveiled by Minister of Social Development and Seniors Tina Ferbert. The new program will provide a lifeline to young adults who are aging out of care from the Department of Child and Family Services. We have a report now from Bermuda Broadcasting.
What started out as a throne speech initiative in 2020 has now become a reality. The Independent Living Program, launched by the Ministry of Social Development and Seniors, has officially opened its doors today to 18 to 24-year-olds who were previously in the care of the Department of Child and Family Services. Minister Ferbert said the displacement of young persons once they age out of care was a concern for the community prior to her becoming a minister in 2020, as this transitional period can cause great stress for the individual.
For these adults, they are in a vulnerable position, and historically, this time of transition has been stressful and at times damaging to those who do not have the family or other significant foundation to guide and support them into adulthood. This program is the first of its kind, whereby the government is providing a lifeline and safety net to young adults aging out of the care of the Director of DCFS, and affording them the best opportunity for success as they transition into adulthood.
The opening of the Garrison View property in St. George's was initially delayed due to undergoing minor renovations. All 12 bedrooms have been outfitted with independence in mind, each room having its own bathroom and refrigerator. Common areas can also be found within the house to encourage camaraderie.
This is a place where they can come and feel very comfortable and feel as though they belong. With the apartment-style rooms that we have here, with the kitchenettes and the bathrooms, it gives them some liberty, some independence, and some personal space that they can call their own.
In addition to providing residency for a maximum of 2 years, the program will also equip young adults with various life skills, education planning, individual counseling, and peer support. So far, Garrison View has 1 resident, and Minister Ferbert believes the purpose-built home will continue to be well received by others.
As doctors and physiotherapists work on the injuries of soldiers and civilians from the ongoing war in the Ukraine, the World Health Organization wants the mental health issues to be also put on the front burner.
It's a daily struggle, giving his every effort to get back on his feet. It's been 8 months since Alexander sustained a cervical spine injury in an airstrike in the southern region of Kherson. It happened on Ukraine's Independence Day.
I was at a military hospital to check my eyes when it came under attack with cluster bombs. 3 pieces of shrapnel flew into my back. It is hard. When I came here, I could only move my toes. To do that, I needed to push myself so hard. Now I'm trying to walk with crutches.
An untold number of Ukrainian soldiers have been seriously wounded in combat. Loss of limb is one of the main injuries, also among civilians. The exact number is classified by the Ministry of Defense, but one estimate says it's happened to over 10,000 Ukrainians, mostly soldiers. At the Without Limits Rehabilitation Center in Kyiv, therapists say demand for prosthetics is very high. Creating a mold is the first step into making a prosthetic, and then the patient will have to go through rehabilitation. But psychologists say that mental health needs to be given equal attention. Veteran Hub provides support for active soldiers through a network of mental health workers like Artem, who also fought in the eastern Donbass region.
I was shocked. I was working with these guys, and after a year I became this guy, and I was so surprised how easy it could be. I forget about my life. I forgot that I'm psychotherapist for a year, and then I came back because I had this opportunity, and I was like, wow, what a what a mess.
Roman Kolesnik has put his career as a professional athlete on pause when he enrolled in the Azov battalion. He lost part of his right leg, but is glad that he survived. he is now fighting the urge to return to the combat zone.
I think about it every day, but after I saw what my relatives went through, I can't give them more pain. It was harder for them than it was for me. I will make my dreams come true. I want to become world champion in mixed martial arts, and I'm going for it.
About 70% of soldiers return to active service after treatment. Once the hostilities end, Ukraine will have to deal with the long-term impact of war on the visible and invisible injuries on its people.
When you join me at 6:30 for Morning Barbados today, we want to take a look at an upcoming lecture as part of the activities for International Women's Day, when Barbadian author and attorney-at-law Sherry Jones will deliver on the topic Representation of Violence Against Women, the solution, that is, against women in contemporary Caribbean literature. We'll talk about that in just a little while. Also, it's Endometriosis Month. We want to continue to raise awareness, and so they will be joining us to talk more about it. And when we meet with our relationship specialist this morning, we will be talking about when words hurt and some of the words that we can all use to hurt and how we can avoid having to use hurtful words. Those and a whole lot more straight ahead at 6:30 on Morning Barbados. The CBC Morning Report continues in just a moment.
Some ask, what makes Barbados so special? We at Mornin Barbados say it's you, our exceptional youth. You are talented, resilient, and inspirational. You are the epitome of the Barbadian spirit, testing the boundaries of your creativity. If you are an entrepreneur, artist, baker, designer, author, or have done anything you think should be highlighted, email us at morninbarbados@cbc.bb. Let us show the world our exceptional Bajan youth.
Books open your heart, your mind, and your soul. They are educational, entertaining, inspiring, and motivating. Are you an author of a recent book you want to share? Then Mornin Barbados would love to feature your book in our The Next Chapter segment. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.bb. That's morning without the G. Come and let us turn those pages together.
Because you love English Premier League, MCTV has got it back. Now you can watch all the games of the English Premier League plus UEFA and NFL on MCTV. Current customers can upgrade to Max Pack Extra at just $23. Call MCTV today at 228-6288 to upgrade or come in and sign up for our new service. Football fans, let MCTV get you back in the game.
While you go about your business, we go about
Overnutrition rather than undernutrition is now the major concern for local health officials. Acting Nutrition Officer Glensil Taylor explains greater efforts will be made to arrest the trend during the ongoing Nutrition Month of celebrations and beyond. She made the point during her address at a church service to kick off the month at St. Philip the Less Anglican Church yesterday.
This public health concern of overnutrition is of no doubt as concerning to us as undernutrition was for the founders of the National Nutrition Center some 50 years ago. As we recognize and highlight nutrition this month, and the National Nutrition Center recognizes 50 years of nutrition work, we know that our efforts to create healthy food environments cannot start and end with the schools of this country. We need to also support our citizens to address the growing burden of NCDs.
With aggressive drives targeting healthy eating education expected this month, the president of the Dietitians of Barbados, Sade Haynes, is challenging Barbadians to make better choices for meals.
These small changes over time can have a big impact. We also challenge you to challenge us, your healthcare providers and leaders, to make the national changes required to benefit all of us. Tackling NCDs at all levels, as individuals, families, communities, and a nation, is necessary to finally reap that success we've sought these past few decades.
As skyrocketing food prices continue to eat into the pockets of Barbadians, a farmer is calling for everyone to make the effort to plant something. Devon Slater has been telling CBC's Rianne Phillips of a non-expensive strategy to achieve this.
6 years ago, Devon Slater bought a pineapple, peeled it, and decided to stick its crown in a soil-filled container outside his home. Fast forward to today, and this is what he has.
I have more than 1,000. I have about 1,600 plants so far right now. So far, and majority of them bearing at the moment. Well, I have 5 varieties here. I have one you call the smooth, and I have one you call the red, and one I have a Guyanese one, and then I have a Hawaii, and then I have another one which I call unknown.
Mr. Slater is convinced people can create similar portable gardens around their properties with produce they already have at home. In doing so, they can at the same time shave dollars off their food bills.
I used to grow my sweet pepper from the supermarket. I get the sweet pepper and take out the seed. The tomato, I do the same thing. And I used to have a lot here. Your backyard that you have, and you have it in bush, you could just get somebody clean it up for you and just get some containers. I will show you. If you want me to show you, just call me and I will show you how to do it. Or come to me and I will show you how to do it.
Looking forward, Mr. Slater is hoping to expand his production.
Right now, I'm looking for somebody who really want to open up somewhere like a land that to start to do plowing and start to produce some more. And once they start to produce with me, then Barbados is going to see the amount of pineapple that could grow here.
He also wants to share his knowledge with upcoming farmers, including students. Rianne Phillips, CBC News.
Bermuda's government has hit back at farmers' claims that the island's potato crop will be halved this year. They say potato supplies arrived in time and farmers were not limited in the volume they could order. However, the owner of Bermuda's newest agricultural cooperative says the red tape could stop many from growing the staple crop.
Farmer Malachi Simon says the government's testing requirements are frustrating both local growers and international vendors.
What does this mean for food security and food reserves in Bermuda?
You have farmers moving away from it. Like the other day I was talking to one of the big farmers and he's saying, listen, I'm going to start letting this go. Like I'm getting older, I'm tired of fighting, I'm tired of, jumping in and, fighting the government all the time. I'm just going to let this go and do what I can on the ground. So the more regulations that are put in place, the less farmers want to work in the field, and it's only going to get worse. The food security issues are going to, become worse.
In a new statement, the government said the testing for seed potatoes protects agricultural production and the environment. A spokesperson said farmers imported 1,065 bags of potatoes this year, compared to 1,430 in 2021. The Plant Protection Lab says they met with farmers to advise they use different vendors who comply with testing regulations. Mr. Simon says it's an example of red tape, which is driving up food costs.
Do you think these testing requirements are much too stringent and that they really do impact an important food reserve?
You're trying to get your fertilizer in cheaper, you're trying to get your seed in cheaper, you're trying to get all the things you need in cheaper, and then when you get here, you have to pay $10 a box, for example, with the bananas. For every box they check, that takes the price up, So it's things like that that don't allow Bermuda to lower its overall cost of living.
In their statement, the government says testing prevents diseases in crops, especially potato wart. The disease can destroy crops and remain dormant in fields for 40 years. Mr. Simons believes the responsibility lies with the government to ensure overseas vendors will meet local regulations.
After a 3-year hiatus, the Tobago Jazz Experience is set to take place this year.
The event will take place from April 20th to 23rd and will feature local, regional and international acts, including Boyz II Men, Vaughnette Bigford, Everton Blender, Coffee and Richie Spice. Musicians Tony Paul and Theron Shaw are also part of the cast. At a recent event, Chief Secretary Farley Augustine shed some light on the preparations for the Tobago Jazz Experience.
The Festival Commission did point out to me that since 2020, they had some artists that were already locked in. Because we were to have jazz, and then COVID came and shut everything down. So there's some artists that they already locked in that they may have to follow through on contractually. So that in itself will lead to whatever event we will have.
Clashes have been erupting between police and a group of demonstrators outside the Greek Parliament in Athens, on the fringes of a protest by thousands of students and railway workers over Greece's deadliest train crash in living memory.
Outrage after Greece's worst ever train crash exploded into violence again on Sunday. Some among the thousands protested in central Athens threw firebombs and rocks. Police used tear gas. Unrest has broken out around the country since a collision between two trains on Tuesday. 57 people were killed. Rail workers have been staging rotating strikes, angry at what they say is underinvestment and poor safety infrastructure. Earlier, the protesters launched hundreds of black balloons to commemorate the dead. Prosecutors have charged a station master for allowing the passenger train onto the same track as an oncoming freight train. But many in the country blame an under-resourced, ageing rail network.
They should stop looking at the profits and start looking at the lives of people, our children. This must never happen again. We shouldn't be afraid to put our children on our country's metro and trains.
Despite the continuous warnings of the workers, there was criminal indifference by those responsible to our requests over the safety systems, and that is what led to this tragic accident.
The scale of this accident has horrified the country. On Sunday, the Prime Minister apologised and said a long-delayed remote signalling system would have made the disaster, in practice, impossible. A few kilometres north along the track, people gathered to remember those killed. 5 days on from this tragedy, across the country, the grief and anger remain raw.
Sports now, Barbadian driver Zane Maloney has started his 2023 Formula 2 season with a podium finish. Maloney pulled off a stunning drive, rising from 18th on the grid to take third yesterday in Bahrain. He took fourth lap 27, then third on the penultimate lap 31. Maloney finished in 1 hour and 42 minutes. The winner was Frenchman Theo Pourchaire.
While you go about your business, we go about our business, and that is gathering the news. Stay up to date at CBC News Barbados on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Get news update on radio throughout the day. And join us for the CBC News Night at 7 every night. CBC News team is on the job and bringing you the news.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country? Well, we at Mornin Barbados would love to have you or them on our Bajan Affair segment. Share your amazing stories, experiences, and how you have adapted to a new culture. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.vb. And together we will travel the world.
Enjoy movies, soaps, drama, comedy, inspiration.
All right, let's turn our attention now to weather, as these forecast conditions have been recorded earlier at the Met Office of the Grantley Adams International Airport. At the moment, 24.3 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy conditions with a slight haze. The winds are coming from the east at 28 kilometers an hour. Heading to the beach today, expect a low tide at 9:14 this morning, with a second at 7 minutes to 10 tonight. We'll have a high tide at 24 minutes to 4 this afternoon. Seas are predicted to be moderate in open water, with swells ranging from 1.5 to 2 meters and increasing. The forecast, Barbados today, mix of sunshine and clouds with a few brief isolated light showers. The forecast for Barbados tonight, mostly clear. And there are some looks at some international cities. That's it for today's edition of the CBC Morning Report. I'm Pearson Bowen. Morning Barbados starts now.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning. Good morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, morning, morning.
Yes, indeed. Morning to you, indeed. And welcome to Monday, the start of a brand new week. It is March 6, 2023. That's my name. I'm Pearson Bowen. Welcome all of you to Morning Barbados today. Thank you so much for joining us on our streams on YouTube and Facebook. Always good having you company. Now, coming up today, we'll meet the writer and director of the film. The film is going to be one of those featured in the upcoming Barbados Film Festival. He was born in London, raised in the Caribbean, and so we want to talk to him a little bit about his offering through film, the film. We'll also meet this morning the survivor of colon cancer, now 5 years cancer-free. He'll join us to talk about his journey and his challenges, but most of all, his successes as well. The Public Relations Officer of the Barbados Council for the Disabled will join us, as this is also the month of the disabled. We want to look at what's on the calendar and talk more a little bit about inclusiveness within how our society generally. You know, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can hurt too. And so when our relationship expert joins us this morning, we want to look at how words hurt and how we ought to be a lot more careful in the words we choose to use with our loved ones. So that's a discussion for later on. It's Endometriosis Awareness Month, and so the organization is continuing to heighten awareness about this painful condition in our female folk, and so we want to hear what's on the calendar of events and why they want to continue raising awareness. But let's get started this morning, because we're just days away from International Women's Day, and there's going to be a lecture at the Arrow Center for Creative Imagination. And so joining us this morning is one of those who is going to be delivering the lecture. Her name is Sherry Jones. We've met her before. She's an attorney at law, but she's also an author. You remember that book we talked about? Sherry, good morning.
I do. Good morning,
yes.
Pearson. Good morning, everyone.
And we celebrated you when you were featured so globally on the ABC show. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, International Women's Day is coming up. And so you're delivering, I believe, the lecture on this very important subject, Story and Solution, the representation of violence against women in contemporary Caribbean literature. You're best placed to talk to us a little bit about what you're going to share. What is it you're going to share?
I'm going to be talking a little bit about how the way that we write about domestic violence, violence against women in the Caribbean, can help to impact the scourge of domestic violence. So I'm going to be doing a survey of sorts of Caribbean literature and looking how we've written about domestic violence over time, since in the post-independence era and up to the present, and just talking a little bit about how the way we've written about violence impacts our social attitude towards violence against women.
But having the way we've written about violence against women a fact, or has it been purely fictional?
Well, this is the thing. One of the things I'm going to be exploring in the lecture is the relationship between fact and fiction, and how our literary work not only reflects what's happening in society, but also can assist us in signposting the way in which we should go as a nation when it comes to certain social issues. So that is one of the things that we're going to explore, the contribution that fiction has to make to our national direction, our national consciousness, especially as it relates to domestic violence.
And you went there because I wanted to go there myself to talk a little bit about what we consume obviously becomes then who we are. And you were saying that in our consumption of literature, we ought to be, and especially the writers of that literature, need to be a lot more aware of the audience and the impact that literature has on that audience.
Well, on that point, I want to make it clear that I am not suggesting any form of self-censorship. So that's an important point I think that needs to be made in terms of any type of artistic work. Literary works are no exception. I'm not suggesting that we have to write about a particular topic in a particular way. What I'm suggesting is that we examine how what we've written helps to form our national consciousness and point us in a particular direction when it comes to these important social issues. Personally, as a writer, I am very conscious of the way that I write about violence. And I've taken certain decisions when it comes to my own work when I'm writing about violence against women. So I think that's the personal choice of an author or artist, but I think it's worth examining how the way that we write impacts the way that we think and believe as a people.
The topic on which you will speak starts story and solution. So it suggests, yes, you're writing, but in your writing, you're hoping for solution. You said to me at the beginning that you're hoping through this lecture that you will deliver on Wednesday, that it will be an opportunity for us to begin to open up our minds, to look to see closer what we do and how what we write also impact what we do. And so when we come to the lecture on Wednesday, first of all, where is it going to be? What time is it going to be? And what would you want us to be able to do at the end of it?
Sure. It's at the Walcott Warner Theatre of the Errol Barrows Center for Creative Imagination. That's at Cave Hill. And it's on Wednesday, 8th March. That's this coming Wednesday at 7 p.m. So in terms of what will happen at the lecture, I am going to be delivering some of my findings from my research. I recently completed a PhD thesis on this topic, a related topic. So I'm going to be talking about some of my research findings, and then I'm also going to be reading from my own work with some extracts from the work of other Caribbean writers, just to demonstrate, you know, some of the points that I'll be making, some of my findings from the surveys that I would have completed. I'm hoping at the end of the lecture that people will come away with good questions. That's what I aim for generally. I don't purport to have all the answers, but I'm hopeful that if we come away from this discussion asking the right questions, eventually we'll get there.
I see this session running till quite late, as a matter of fact, because once the discussion begins, and there's so many narratives surrounding, you know, violence against women in the Caribbean in particular, that I could see this becoming a long session. But it's only for so long, a couple hours or so at the theatre there, and so we want people to come in large numbers. But we don't just want women to be a part of the audience, do we?
No, absolutely not. This is a lecture for everyone. I think it's worthy. Women are a part of our society, an important part of our society, and women impact the lives of everybody else. I mean, we all do. We impact each other's lives. So I'm hoping that men will also come out, young people, older people. This is a lecture for everybody. We're together, we form a community and a society, and this is an important issue for our community and not just for women. So I think it's important that we're all involved in the discussion.
Yeah, and I know, and that's so vitally important indeed that everyone turns up to be a part of it. Sherry Jones will be sharing her analysis from her recent studies, and certainly it will open some eyes and ears, I suppose, to a discussion point looking at how we treat the violence of our female folk in our communities in the Caribbean, how we almost standardize it and normalize it, and should we or should we not? All of those things will definitely come out of that discussion. It's on Wednesday at 7 o'clock at the
Walcott Warner Theatre, Errol Barrows Center for the Creative Imagination.
There you go. So that's where we're all going to be. Now, I'm curious to find out a little bit about some insight into your recent survey that you would have done and your analysis. Just share a little bit about some of the findings that you might want to share with us on Wednesday. please?
Sure. So I'm going to be looking at a number of literary texts from different authors from various islands in the Caribbean, and I'm discussing the way that these writers wrote about violence and what the narrative, what that text says to us about the problem of violence against women in the Caribbean. So there are a number of texts I'll be looking at. Miguel Street by V.S. Naipaul is one. The Hills Were Joyful Together by Roger Mayes is another one. Harriet's Daughter. There are a number of texts, and I'm going to be examining just from this survey. I'm looking at how we represented violence against women in the Caribbean in those texts. And then I'm going to be talking about trends that I have sort of discovered in that survey, similarities, differences. Are there any sort of apparent changes in how we talk about violence in literature now? And then I'm going to be linking that to my own writing and specifically to my recent novel, How the One-Armed Sister Sweeps Her House, and talking a little bit about my own process as a writer, how I chose to write about violence and why, and how I would hope that we would move forward in terms of treating the issue of domestic violence in our literature in the future.
This is going to be fantastic. Students of literature, teachers of literature, everyone who reads needs to be there as well. So Wednesday, 7 o'clock at the Arabara Center for Creative Imagination in the theater. It's a very comfortable space, but you need to get very comfortable because it's going to be quite provocative indeed when attorney at law and author Sherry Jones begins to share from her own works and works of others of the Caribbean as well. And we begin to really delve beneath the surface as to why we are the way we are. The story and solution, the representation of violence against women in contemporary Caribbean literature. And so that's the theme, and I want everyone to be there. It starts early, so be there early to be a part of it. Sherry, it's always good to talk to you. Thank you so much for joining us, and much success with this. I really hope that they keep you there till late because it is such a fascinating subject indeed. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Pearson.
You're welcome.
Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome indeed. Sherry Jones, attorney at law and author, who is going to be delivering that lecture on Wednesday evening at 7 o'clock at the Arabara Center for Creative Imagination, all part of the activities for International Women's Day on Wednesday. And the theme, story and solution, the representation of violence against women in contemporary Caribbean literature. You have to be there. We encourage you. We'll take a break right here. We're coming back with more on Morning Barbados in just a moment.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Enjoy movies, soaps, drama, comedy, inspiration, education, music, and more. You get it all when you get MCTV, because MCTV gives you more.
Some ask, what makes Barbados so special? We at Mornin Barbados say it's you, our exceptional youth. You are talented, resilient, and inspirational. You are the epitome of the Barbadian spirit, testing the boundaries of your creativity. If you are an entrepreneur, artist, baker, designer, author, or have done anything you think should be highlighted, email us at morninbarbados@cbc.bb. Let us show the world our exceptional Bajan youth.
Books open your heart, your mind, and your soul. They are educational, entertaining, inspiring.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
We have 15 minutes now to go to the hour of 7 o'clock this Monday morning, and so we turn our attention now to Endometriosis Awareness Month. And as we look at the number of activities, we also want to delve a little bit deeper behind this painful condition, and I deliberately said it the way like that, painful condition that many of our women experience. Joining us is the co-founder of the Barbados Association of Endometriosis and PCOS, her name, she is, Julia Mandeville. Good morning to you, Julia.
Good morning, Pearson. How are you?
I'm well today. Thank you for asking. How do you do?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for asking. I'm happy to be here.
Now let's talk a little bit about this, because this is the month in which you raise awareness about endometriosis. We have had many sessions here on Morning Barbados with our OBGYNs where we took some time to go through it. Do you get the sense so far that it is resonating among our community?
I definitely think so. We've conducted several events, including conferences, and the feedback from it has been heartening and encouraging. A lot of people who were not aware of endometriosis or were not aware of the severity of endometriosis have come away from those events rethinking what this condition is.
It's almost like putting a face to the condition, because women would suffer in silence and in private. But you're saying, no, you don't have to anymore, because there are a group of people who not only have similar condition, but there are also a group of people who have solutions to it. And so that is what you're seeking to do through your organization?
Exactly. So I myself, I was diagnosed with endometriosis. So that is exactly one of the reasons why we wanted to provide a space for support and understanding for those of us in Barbados who have endometriosis or similar conditions.
So how have you seen your organization grow over the years?
That's a very interesting question. So we started in 2016, and this is more or less our 6 years of raising awareness for endometriosis. And I think we have grown in a way we wouldn't have expected. We are able to engage with organizations internationally, policymakers internationally, and also have a voice at those tables that weren't at the tables when endometriosis was, first being discussed as a very serious condition. And so I think our reputation and the work that we have done speaks for itself, in that the fact that we've been invited to these tables to share our experiences as well.
So much so that, you went up to the U.S. Capitol, as a matter of fact, recently. Talk to me a little bit about how that invitation came about and what you did when you got there.
So, similar to Sherry, I'm actually finishing my PhD in public health at the George Mason University. So I am currently in the U.S. And so my research is actually also focused on endometriosis and PCOS, particularly in Black populations and other marginalized populations. And so there's that. So I'm doing research, but additionally, as I mentioned before, the BAPE has an internationally recognized reputation, and I have been working with the individuals who have been a part of this film. And so that's how the invitation came about. They're aware of the work that we have been doing in Barbados, and they knew that I was in the U.S., and so they saw fit to have me in that space.
So while you were in that space, what did you get to do, and how did they respond?
So the session was to screen a film called Below the Belt. Below the Belt follows 4 women that have endometriosis through their journey in seeking to understand exactly what that condition is, and then their path to effective treatment. And so with that being said, they recognized that there was a widespread problem. The film is a documentary. As we saw there, that film screening was co-hosted bipartisanly by Mitt Romney and Elizabeth Warren. And it really was to show that endometriosis can affect anyone, regardless of your station in life, and it takes a community level intervention to really help with providing support and really actionable steps to improve outcomes for people with endometriosis.
If there's anybody who could help, is Elizabeth Warren. She has a solution for everything under the sun. And so it's good to know that you have the air of her. Now, but a lot of what you're doing there is in preparation also for your return here to continue to agitate and to raise awareness of what's happening here. And so this month, that's what you're also seeking to do. What's the theme, and what can we expect to be able to engage with in this month of March?
So our theme, we're taking a step back. And our theme is chronic pain. Let's talk about it. So endometriosis is a common chronic condition where the endometrial tissue grows outside of the uterus. But chronic pelvic pain is one of the most common symptoms of endometriosis. So while chronic pelvic pain can be associated with other conditions. 85% of women with chronic pain also have endometriosis. And so we really wanted to focus on the symptoms because some people might minimize it and think, you're just having cramps and you just can get over it. But there's some far-reaching implications for chronic pelvic pain. One such being mental health implications is associated with anxiety and depression. And I know that we are, as a community in Barbados, we are really trying to peel layers back as it relates to addressing mental health. And we thought that by sharing that chronic pelvic pain can be a risk factor for mental health, it helps to help people understand a bit more about the implications of chronic pelvic pain.
So if you find yourself experiencing chronic pelvic pain, get it checked out for sure. But with this session, they'll have an opportunity to also hear more about, understanding what they're experiencing, and so that you can give definition to it. And once you know exactly what it is that you're doing, the treatment options are available. So that's one activity you're doing for the month. What else are you doing?
As you rightfully said, we have our first event is happening on March 10th, and that is getting familiar with your pelvis with Jasmine Evelyn, who is a pelvic health physiotherapist, and she's our immediate past president. Then we are also on the 19th of March partnering with our youth partners, Let's Unpack It, in a panel discussion that is centering endometriosis, mental health, and the youth. And our current Vice President, Shante Warden, will be sharing her experiences with endometriosis as a young person with endometriosis, and then highlight evidence that will online chronic pelvic pain as a risk factor for depression and anxiety in young women, as well as really discussing ways in which we can think through early intervention for endometriosis in ways to reduce the risk of developing anxiety and depression within the youth. And so really excited to be partnering with Let's Unpack It in that initiative. And then on Sunday, March 26th, we're going to be having a Sister Circle, and all of these events are virtual. They're on Zoom, so you can do them in the comfort of your home, and they're all free. So this circle is being held jointly with our regional partners, St. Vincent, Trinidad and Tobago, Dominica, Jamaica, St. Lucia, St. Kitts Nevis. We'll also be joined by an endo sister. Her name is Lorraine Kleber from Suriname, and she's an artist, multimedia, and she does spoken word. And within that sister circle, it will be a safe space to share and connect with other women with endometriosis.
So where can folks go then to one, be reminded of all of those dates and times and activities, and how to get that Zoom link? Where do we go?
So on all of our social media platforms, and you can get there for our social media handle is Endo and PCOS BB on every single platform. So at Endo, at ENDO AND PCOS BB.
Right. At symbol Endo and PCOS Barbados, and there you go. That's where you go, and you'll get all the details as to every single event and all the Zoom links link that you will need to engage with it. I love the Sister Caribbean chapter though that you're having there. What have you found in linking up with all of those different islands across the Caribbean? I know there must be great similarity, but you can also learn from each other's experiences. What are you learning from that?
That has been a great source of support for us. So yes, we do have similar challenges, particularly as it relates to resource availability, but we also are extremely determined to change the narrative and change outcomes for our sisters within the region who are living with endometriosis. We are taking those lessons learned and applying them to our situations at our home countries as well as regionally. And we've been doing this for a while, coming together to share, to learn, and to advance endometriosis awareness throughout the Caribbean region.
Endometriosis can impact a woman at any age and at any stage, and so we want you to be aware of it. It could be your youngest to your oldest in your family, and so when it happens and you're having that chronic pelvic pain, let's talk about it. Remember to go to their social at Endo and PCOS Barbados, and you get all the details on every single activity for this month as we continue to raise awareness about endometriosis. You get to get the link so you can link in when those activities occur as well. And as I said before, I like the chapter that you have across the Caribbean to hear women come together to talk a little bit about what they're experiencing, and to also have the men also have a greater degree of sensitivity. And there it is, we're showing the page on the screen at the moment. When you can find them on Instagram, that's where you can find them, and that's what it looks like. So you know you land on the right page when you see the page look like this, and you get a sense of all the activities, all that they're doing. They have there already on their social media platform. But talk among yourselves about it. Talk among yourself. Don't be afraid to share your pain, but also don't be afraid to share your success and your relief from your pain as well. And I know that's part of what you do as well, right, Julia? To share the success.
Yes, exactly. Endometriosis is chronic. It is life-altering, but we do have some wins along the way, and it's really important to celebrate those wins, to enjoy your pain-free days, and just remember that, again, when you have endometriosis, you did not bring this upon yourself. It is a condition that you found yourself with, and it's important to give yourself grace and also recognize that there are people who understand and are here to support you.
Indeed. And I'm glad you put it that way, because there's a young girl who's probably having the same chronic pelvic pain, but the mother doesn't quite understand. And so I want you to talk to that mother right now who doesn't quite understand what to do to manage this child who's crying with chronic pelvic pain.
So I really appreciate you posing that scenario. We actually developed a resource book to help people within, again, built in the Caribbean context to help persons really understand these conditions. And we did that in association with the UNFPA Caribbean, the United Nations Sexual and Reproductive Health Agency. And so what I would say is just recognize that pain is not something that anyone would want to have, right? And especially chronic pelvic pain, which really is debilitating. It's at your core. And it really prevents you from doing a lot of things that you would hope to do. So if you're not understanding, reach out, ask questions. Please don't dismiss. Please don't minimize. Please don't stigmatize. Because if your daughter, your ward, anyone who is seeking to confide in you that they're experiencing this pain, that means that they really are looking for some support. And it's important that even if all the support you can provide is emotional support, sometimes that in itself is enough to help people recognize that they are understood. So understanding, support, but also just seeking to evaluate. So go to your medical practitioner, some questions. It might not necessarily be endometriosis, because again, chronic pelvic pain can be an underlying cause for a lot of conditions, but it really is important to get evaluated so that you can intervene earlier, because early intervention usually leads to significantly better outcomes in the long run.
Well put, well said, Julia Mandeville. Julia Mandeville is the co-founder of the Barbados Association of Endometriosis and PCOS. Remember, go to their social media platforms right now and get to know more about the activities this month and how you can be a part of them this month at Endo and PCOS BDS. That's where you find them on social media, and you get it all. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I wish you every success with your month of activities, continuing to raise awareness, and your studies while you're in the United States as well. And come back and share some more details with us as soon as you can, all right?
Of course. Thank you so much, Pearson. Enjoy the rest of your day.
As you too. Thank you so much. Julia Mandeville, co-founder of the Barbados Association of Endometriosis and PCOS. We're taking a break here. We're coming back with the news and more in just a moment.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Books open your heart, your mind, and your soul. They are educational, entertaining, inspiring, and motivating. Are you an author of a recent book you want to share? Then Mornin Barbados would love to feature your book in our The Next Chapter segment. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.bb. That's morning without the G. Come and let us turn those pages together.
Because you love English Premier League, MCTV has got it back. Now you can watch all the games of the English Premier League plus UEFA and NFL on MCTV. Current customers can upgrade to Matchback Extra at just $23. Call MCTV today at 228-6288 to upgrade or come in and sign up for a new service. Football fans, let MCTV get you back in the game.
While you go about your business, we go about our business, and that is gathering the news. Stay up to date at CBC News.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
It's 7 o'clock. Let's look at the news now. One regional agency has donated much needed equipment to help members of the deaf community be in a better earning position. The Caribbean Policy Development Center has gifted the Deaf Heart Project with computers which are being used to teach entrepreneurial skills to the deaf. CPDC believes the European Union funded project will allow them to have more sustainable livelihoods. Geneva Oliver, Project Development Specialist, says CPDC is looking to do more.
Caribbean Policy Development Center is really passionate about the causes of the vulnerable in our population. We have been mandated to really amplify the voices and build the capacity of the most vulnerable in our region, and not just in Barbados. So initiatives like this really feed into the heart of what we do. So we look forward, as Kristen would have indicated, to many more of these initiatives. And we also look forward to other entities in society really pitching in and partnering to ensure that we have more of these projects.
One participant, Maud White, who has been attending the Deaf Entrepreneurship Program sessions at the Young Men's Christian Association, says she's been learning a lot.
This class has been really wonderful experience. I've learned a lot of things. Learned a lot of things on the computer. It has opened my eyes on how I could make my own website, how to set up a business, and all these things.
Overnutrition rather than undernutrition is now the major concern for local health officials. Acting Nutrition Officer Glensil Taylor explains greater efforts will be made to arrest the trend during the ongoing Nutrition Month of celebrations and beyond. She made the point during her address at a church service to kick off the month at St. Philip the Less Anglican Church yesterday.
This public health concern of overnutrition is of no doubt as concerning to us as undernutrition was for the founders of the National Nutrition Center some 50 years ago. As we recognize and highlight nutrition this month, and the National Nutrition Center recognizes 50 years of nutrition work, we know that our efforts to create healthy food environments cannot start and end with the schools of this country. We need to also support our citizens to address the growing burden of NCDs.
With aggressive drives targeting healthy eating education expected this month, President of the Dietitians of Barbados, Shade Haynes, is challenging Barbadians to make better choices for meals.
These small changes over time can have a big impact. We also challenge you to challenge us, your healthcare providers and leaders, to make the national changes required to benefit all of us. Tackling NCDs at all levels, as individuals, families, communities, and a nation, is necessary to finally reap that success we've sought these past few decades.
As skyrocketing food prices continue to eat into the pockets of Barbadians, a farmer is calling for everyone to make the effort to plant something. Devon Slater has been telling CBC's Rianne Phillips of a non-expensive strategy to achieve this.
6 years ago, Devon Slater bought a pineapple, peeled it, and decided to stick its crown in a soil-filled container outside his home. Fast forward to today, and this is what he has.
I have more than 1,000. I have about 1,600 plants so far right now. And majority of them bearing at the moment. Well, I have 5 variety here. I have one you call the smooth, and I have one you call the red, and one I have a Guyanese one, and then I have a Hawaii, and then I have another one which I call unknown.
Mr. Slater is convinced people can create similar portable gardens around their properties with produce they already have at home. In doing so, they can at the same time shave dollars off their food bills.
I used to grow my sweet pepper from the supermarket. I get the sweet pepper and take out the seed. The tomato, I do the same thing. And I used to have a lot here. Your backyard that you have, and you have it in bush, you could just get somebody clean it up for you and just get some containers. I will show you. If you want me to show you, just call me and I will show you how to do it. Or come to me and I will show you how to do it.
Looking forward, Mr. Slater is hoping to expand his production.
Right now, I'm looking for somebody who really want to open up somewhere like a land that to start to do plowing and start to produce some more. And once they start to produce with me, then Barbados is going to see the amount of pineapple that could grow here.
He also wants to share his knowledge with upcoming farmers, including students. Rianne Phillips, CBC News.
Thank you, Rianne. That's our news at this time. We'll have more news here on TV8 at 12 noon in the CBC News Day. Morning Barbados continues in just a moment.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
While you go about your business, we go about our business, and that is gathering the news. Stay up to date at CBC News Barbados on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Get news update on radio throughout the day. And join us for the CBC News Night at 7 every night. CBC News team is on the job and bringing you the news.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country? Well, we at Mornin Barbados would love to have you or them on our Bajan Affair segment. Share your amazing stories, experiences, and how you have adapted.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
8 minutes after 7 o'clock, as you do know, this is the month of the disabled as well. And so we're continuing to heighten awareness about disabilities and how we can treat to others who are just different from who we are. Slightly different, but for the grace of God go I. And so joining us as we take a deeper look into the month of activities is Christopher Jilks. He is the Public Relations Officer with the Barbados Council for the Disabled. Christopher, good morning to you.
Hi, good morning.
How do you do today, sir?
Yes, I'm fine, thank you. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing well, thank you for asking. Now, let's talk a little bit about this whole question of awareness of people with disabilities. Do you get the sense that Barbadians are becoming a lot more cooperative, sensitive of people with disabilities?
Well, yes, as I know it took some time, but society is getting more aware of the disabled community as we speak. And I know it is a lot more that needs to be done. But the society is getting more, because persons are now seen out there.
Mm-hmm. What would you wish Barbadians would be a lot more sensitive about?
Well, my only thing is the compassion from the society.
Mm-hmm.
Because it takes, once there's compassion, I believe all of us can, live together and be happy.
Yeah, you're quite right. And so when we look at each other and we see people, there's some people who have a disability that you don't even see, but you still have to be compassionate to whatever limitations they may have. And yes, again, to be and expressing that compassion to assist where absolutely necessary. And I know sometimes independence is absolutely critical as well. You don't want to overdo it for somebody with a disability, because they're just another human being and they want to be as equally independent. But assistance is what is necessary.
Yes, that is true. Because as a person with a disability, you want to be able to show that you're capable of doing things just like the able-bodied person, but you do it in a different way.
I mean, look at you. Look at what you do. You know, you have been able to show to all of us that you can do just in a different way, but you do the same things that we all do. And I really want to commend you for being such a visible force within our community of someone who is not afraid to show that though I'm different, I am just as able. Well done to you, Christopher. Let's talk a little bit now. You're welcome. Let's talk a little bit now about some of the activities that you need to bring to our attention. What is it that's going to be happening in the month that we can all engage with so that we are better prepared to handle the differences in our community?
Well, yesterday we had our commemorative church service, which was well attended. And there's a few activities. There's a wheel, walk, and run, which is coming up shortly, and I think that's on the 25th of March, where I want to encourage persons to take part, because we're not only looking at it as, an event to keep fit, but also bring awareness to our public.
Wheel, walk, and rub. I love that. So anybody who's a wheelchair user, that's for you. Walk, you're up on 2 feet, walk, and run as well. And so that event is going to be towards the end of the month. Do we need to register for it?
Yes, please. Persons can register at the National Disabilities Unit from Monday to Friday.
Right, Monday to Friday, register, folks, register, and registration comes at a relatively small fee, but when you do, you are giving great support to a section of our community who needs the support as well. So I really want to encourage as many of you as possible.
Yes, not only that, what they can do is, if they desire to represent a particular organization, they can feel free to represent that organization, because the funds collected would go towards that organization.
So if I say, if CBC staff say, for instance, we want to give support to the blind and deaf and blind, or that organization, whatever it is, we can do so? Or if you want to give to the MS Society, we can do so?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that is correct.
I got you now. So folks, we want to encourage as many of you as possible to sign up to be a part of this. So walk, run, and wheel. The wheel, walk, and run. That's a big activity happening on the 25th, I think it is. Yeah, that's the one today. Run, walk, and wheel awareness activity, and we want to encourage as many of you as possible. It starts at 8 o'clock in the morning on the 25th. I know recently the members of the Multiple Sclerosis Society had a recent talk as well, and that's one of those conditions that you don't often get to talk about, but they are also considered as a part of the community of disabled. So what else is happening as it relates to that segment of our community?
Well, there's also the Barbados Organization of Parents of Disabled. They also have a fun day that will be at King George V Park, and that's at 10 to 4 p.m. on the 11th.
Right.
So you can take part in that as well if you wish.
That's for parents of those with disabilities. It's a great coming together. I think we can all draw support from each other when we turn up for that. And I hope that it's open to not just parents but caregivers, because they're uncles and other relatives as well who do give support as well. So we want to show our support in full at King George V Memorial Park on the 11th of the month, and it starts at 10 in the morning. It's a wonderful fun day activity for everyone. So the parents and those with disabilities are encouraged to be there as well at King George. Let's flood the park and have a good time with us, playing cricket, football, whatever sport it is in the park. Right, Chris?
Definitely. And for those who like their sports, the Learning Center, they will be having a road tennis competition on the 15th, starting at 9:30, and on the 16th there will be a table tennis competition as well. Nice.
I see there's also about badminton.
Yes, definitely. They will be having a whole variety of activities.
Sweet. All right, and so on the 18th, a special envoy outing picnic. You're going back to the park, so a week later you're going out there for a picnic.
Yes.
I like it.
After that, on that same day, the National United Society of the Blind is having a talent show. And this is one not to be missed as well. This is at the Prince Cave Hall.
on the 18th of the month. Tickets, we have to acquire tickets for that one?
Yes, please. Persons can acquire tickets from the National United Society of the Blind, or they can contact the Barbados Council for the Disabled. I can give you that contact number.
Sure.
And that's 629-0574.
629-0574, the Council for the Disabled. 629-0574. That's when the National United Society for the Blind will be having its big talent show. And this is going to be fantastic. Now, these folks are really, really good. You know, I can't wait to hear who's going to be doing it, but we want to encourage you to be a part of it. And that's their social media page as well, the Barbados Council for the Disabled. But you can call 629-0574 and get your ticket for that big event on the 18th of the month at 6 o'clock, the Prince Cave Hall there at District A Police Station. So I see here you're having...
Persons can find us on Facebook and Instagram as well.
Brilliant. I see you're having a football competition.
Yes, please.
Talk to me a little bit about that and when it is.
Well, the football competition, that is set for the 21st, and that is also Down Syndrome Awareness Day as well.
Yes.
Which is, you know, we come out in our pretty color socks in order to support the Down Syndrome Association.
Absolutely. We will rock our socks on the 21st of March. And so, you know, and I'm glad you said all of that, because we talked about multiple sclerosis. We also have to talk about Down syndrome. We only think of deaf and blind and so forth, but there are other conditions that fall within the whole ambit of disabilities. And so Down syndrome is one such, and we can show our support and love for those special children and young people by rocking our socks on the 24th. I already have my pair. So I can't wait to rock my socks. Our team will be joining in that, and we really want to really raise further awareness of people who are living with Down syndrome, who are just ordinary people with a capacity out of this world. The love that flow from children with Down syndrome, you will be shocked when they begin to show their love to you. You know, it's like, how could you live without? And so I want to encourage you to be a part of that activity as well. And so there's also going to be a Talk Your Talk. Oh, you're coming on Talk Your Talk as well.
Yes, please. And we will be discussing the legislation, which will be soon on board. So we would have a discussion on that, the different parts of the articles we'll be speaking.
Fantastic. And so the month will end with a whole host of other things in that final week as well. Barnard is having its outreach. That will continue. I know we do have a program on radio where that's concerned. Your disability awareness school activities, going into the schools to talk more with the children, to bring them greater awareness among them as well. You're looking at the constitutional rights on people with disabilities as well. There's going to be a virtual presentation on the 30th of the month, and a track and field competition brings the curtains down. Talk to me about that.
Yes, that would help to, you know, give us the ease on all the hype, you know, following from earlier in the month. It would help us to relax and, you know, go into April.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you're having it at the standard playing field. This is going to be fantastic. I like it. I like it indeed, Christopher. Well done. A whole slew of activities you have for the month of March. But today being the 6th, next is going to be the Learning Center's badminton competition. We want you to be a part of it. Folks, pay attention. On International Women's Day, they will continue to highlight women with disabilities as well, who are still contributing handsomely to our community. A drafts competition on the 9th. And then on the 11th, we're having that Organization of Parents of People with Disabilities. We're having a fun day at the King George V Memorial Park this coming Saturday. And so we'll continue to raise further awareness in the whole month for you, Christopher, so we remind people of what's up ahead so that they can join with the Barbados Council for the Disabled to support the activities for this month of March. I want to thank you, Christopher. We're out of time, but thank you so much for joining us. Christopher Jolts, Public Relations Officer of the Barbados Council for the Disabled. All the best with all the activities, Chris.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
You're very welcome. Good to see you as well. Thank you so much. All right, Morning Barbados takes a break here. We're coming back. And when we come back, words do harm. Let's talk about that after this.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Enjoy movies, soaps, drama, comedy, inspiration, education, music, and more. You get it all when you get MCTV. Because MCTV gives you more.
Some ask, what makes Barbados so special? We at Mornin Barbados say it's you, our exceptional youth. You are talented, resilient, and inspirational. You are the epitome of the Barbadian spirit, testing the boundaries of your creativity. If you are an entrepreneur, artist, baker, designer, author, or have done anything you think should be highlighted, email us at morninbarbados@cbc.bb. Let us show the world our exceptional Bajan youth.
Books open your heart, your mind, and your soul. They are educational, entertaining.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
21 minutes after 7 o'clock, time for our Monday morning sessions with our relationship coach, Dr. Denise Charles. Dr. Denise Charles, oh, look at you. Good morning.
Good morning, Pearson. How are you doing?
I'm well, thanks. Every Monday morning you're coming fresh and different. I love it. I love it. You keep things interesting, and that's what we talk a lot about on the sessions, right? Keeping things interesting.
That's true. That's true. I live by that rule.
Yeah. Coming out of our conversations last week, though, I said to you, you're a man, and we talked a little bit about that, how sometimes words can be so hurtful. We also live by this adage that says, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can't harm. But you're kidding. Words do harm. And that's where we want to go this morning, if you don't mind. When we sometimes take it for granted, the words we use in relationships. And this is not a case of saying it's the women who tend to do it more so than men, because both genders do the same thing, become very hurtful with the words they use. Do you think this is as critical a problem as I see it?
Pearson, somewhere back in our past, in our childhoods, when we become engaged with language, I think we get a sense of how important words are. From a child, when you're learning to talk, it is a huge thing, when you can put those words together and they can have meaning. And I think it is unfortunate that sometimes in our relationships, instead of using our words to build up and to validate and to affirm, we often use our words to pull down. Because somewhere in the human psyche, we have connected with the idea that words are extremely important. Actually, the Word of God says life and death, life and death is in the power of the tongue, and we can use our words to build up, or we can use our words to pull people down. And in relationships, it's absolutely critical that we do the right thing with language. But very often, when we're hurt, we use words to destroy, we use words to discourage, we use words, as a powerful tool to sometimes put that person in their place, and that is something that we really shouldn't be doing.
But how then do we put them in their place? Because sometimes you want to put them in their place. You know what I'm talking about, that is. When that moment hits and you feel the anger, the passion against something, and you want to say something that best displays how you feel, what do I now do to check myself?
We have to try to self-regulate when it comes to language, when it comes to words. Some of us have a really great facility with language, and we're able to use words to explain ourselves. We're able to use words to speak to how we feel. We're able to use words very powerfully to describe our hurt, to describe our pain, to describe our goals, our dreams. We're very comfortable with language. And I was thinking about this last night when it came to this topic, and I was thinking that in my experience as a counselor, very often I've recognized that men, and I know you didn't want to go down the gender role necessarily.
Let me hear you.
But sometimes men see language as something that is, it is almost damning to them. Because they're not as comfortable. They don't have a strong facility with it. And I'm not saying that every single man is like this, but I've often found that men interpret language as something that is meant to harm or something that is meant to decimate them, something that is meant to pull them down, when that is not necessarily what the woman intends. The woman is just perhaps sometimes stronger with expressing how she feels. She's just stronger with respect to explaining herself. But very often men interpret that as an attack, when it is really not intended to be an attack. You know, so I think that difference between men and women in terms of how we use language, in terms of how we're comfortable with words, I think that sometimes can prove problematic in relationships. And that is why I'm always talking about the need to raise our boys in a way where they're comfortable with language, where they're comfortable with self-expression. And, you know, I heard a conversation last week which was attempting to suggest the idea that we're trying to feminize men. You know, we're trying to feminize men. We're trying to make men exactly like women. And I don't think that is the conversation we should be having. You know, the fact of the matter is all of us, whether man or woman, all of us use words. All of us have needs. All of us have feelings. All of us need love. You know, all of us need affirmation, validation. All of us have emotions. Emotions are not unique to women. Men also have emotions. And I think that we need to balance that. And with respect to relationships, women need to be a lot more wise in this regard, because it is not about trying to make men exactly like ourselves, but it is about meeting them where they're at when it comes to language, and you know, using our words to also build them up.
So I'm hearing a woman saying to herself, I hear you, Denise, but you know, what then does she do? What then does she do? Because she can't always be that sensitive to how the man feels. She wants still to be able to express herself honestly. So what does she do? How does she manage herself through this conversation and these expressions?
It requires maturity and it requires sensitivity. And not every woman might be there, because Pearson, when you're angry, you want to get your point off and you want to win the fight. You know, you're not going to be thinking about anybody's feelings. I mean, we do it with our own girlfriends, or we might do it with our relatives. You know, it is just something where sometimes women will rise up and use their words as weapons. And it is more connected to our emotion in the moment, whether we're angry, whether we're upset, whether we're disappointed, whether we're fighting. You know, and when I say fighting, I don't necessarily mean a physical fight, but we're fighting for ourselves, we're fighting for our rights, we're fighting for our sense of personhood, you know, so therefore we use our tool, the thing that we're so good at, we use our language to sort of attack the individual in the moment, right? But when it comes to being sensitive, I think we need to understand that men have feelings, our sons have feelings, our fathers have feelings, our partners have feelings, and while we would want to express ourselves, and there's nothing wrong with that, and I'm not suggesting that a woman should forget who she is or forget her strengths to pander to a man's deficits, if I could describe it as that, but at the same time, I think we need to bring balance. And we need to, if you're really good with language and you're really good with not just using language to express how you feel, but the other side of it is about creating a safe space in your relationship where you can help your partner to also use language to express himself. And I think when it comes to communication, I know we're not directly talking about communication, but it is communication as well. I think we have to be willing to create a space where each of us feels empowered to use what we're good at. And I think when it comes to a relationship, a woman also has to be able to read her partner's body language. Now, he might not be as good, or some women, not every single woman might be excellent with words, but whether you're a man or woman, you have to be able to look at your partner's body language and kind of sense how they're feeling in the moment. And I think that is very, very important, to be able to read where your partner is at, to understand what they're going through, and therefore to be able to pivot and use your words wisely in those cases.
I can hear a woman saying, but you know, I hear you too. Again, Denise, I hear you, but sometimes he says hurtful words to me too. Talk to him. And, you know, and this is not about you talk to her and you talk to him, that kind of thing. It's that in a relationship, we must be mindful, as you've just said, you know, that of the words we use and our facility with language, and how we use that to either build up or to cut down. And sometimes we could truly avoid the cutting down in that relationship, because it really does no one any good. And especially if you've decided to embark on this long-term relationship, why are you seeking to cut the other person down through words? Why are you seeking to cut them down at all?
Yeah. Well, sometimes, you know, when we use things, when we use words, when we use situations, when we bring up things from the past, when we do these types of things in relationships to hurt or harm, I don't think that necessarily we're sitting down and we're thinking, how can I do this thing? How can I use this thing to harm this
Really?
person? But I don't think so. I think very often what it does, it is revealing, we're exposing ourselves. We're exposing where we're at. We're exposing the fact that we haven't forgiven for something that was done to us. We're exposing the fact that we are bitter. We're exposing the fact that something happened to us sometime in our childhood or in our past or in a previous relationship that we are still channeling, we're still journeying through. We haven't, fully gotten over it. And sometimes when we think we're attacking another person, and we are attacking that person, what we're in essence also doing in that space is that we are exposing where we're at as people. We are showing our own inefficiencies. We are showing our own emotional deficits. We are showing where we are challenged. We are exposing ourselves. And sometimes we're not very aware of that. It's like when we hear, when you hear women mouth off, all men are dogs.
Yes.
I don't need to be married. I don't need a man in my life. Saying you need to be married, but you understand what I'm saying.
Yes.
Sometimes when you mouth off like that, what you're doing, you're showing the fact that you have been hurt. You're showing the fact that you haven't had resolution for some previous relationship. Perhaps you're divorced or in a significant relationship where you broke up and you haven't made peace. And as a result, your mouthings are expressions of your hurt and of your pain. And very often in relationships, that's what happens when we use words. So when we use words negatively or we use words to cut down people, we're not just exposing the fact that we want to hurt them, which may be true, but we're also exposing the fact that we too have been hurt and that we haven't gotten over our pain. And as a result, we're projecting that onto someone else.
I get you. So for the partner who is being abused verbally in this instance, what do they do? I mean, they love them. They love the other partner who is abusive. So what do you do to help your partner get over the challenge that they may have faced?
I don't think it is your role to help them necessarily get over. And I say this all the time, especially with women who like to feel they're Jesus. And, we can't bring that man to salvation. He has to want to change for himself. And as much as when we love someone, we want to be empowered enough to help them to fix themselves. We can have conversations, we can point people to things to read, to things to watch, to things to listen to. We can listen with them, we can have conversations and dialogue about the things that challenge us in the relationship, and so on. But when it comes to real change and real recalibration, that is really the individual who has to do that. But I do agree that the relationship space can be a growing space. It can be a space where we have dialogue, we have conversations about the need for each of us to change and grow and develop. And as a result of that, the partner may feel motivated to change. So as much as you're talking about what can the partner do, I think the most the partner can do is ensure that the relationship is that type of space. It is a space of affirmation. It is a space where though your partner may have negative traits or maybe doing something negative to you at times, that's not the only thing that defines him or her to you. You're able to say to them the good things. You're able to still speak the good words. You're still able to speak positive about the relationship. And I think if you're finding that you can't do that, then you need to reevaluate that relationship that you're in. Because there has to be something positive. There has to be something good still about your partner. There still has to be something good about that relationship. So I think the most we can do, person as individuals, the other person that is the one that's being abused or the one that is on the receiving end of the negative words, etc. You have to be able to, I think, create a space where your partner can see himself or herself and see the need to change and see the need to grow. And that very often comes from a positive, affirmative space. And I'm not suggesting that we put up with emotional abuse and that we just allow ourselves to be hammered with negativity from someone else, because along the rules of self-care, we still have to be able to draw the line somewhere with respect to what we accept from someone else. And I don't think we should suggest that love means just sitting quietly and accepting negative behaviors or negative words from someone. I think when you love someone, remember, when we love, we want what is best for that person. You want that person to grow. You want that person to change. And you want what is best for them. And that means helping them to come into an understanding of themselves. But they're the only ones that can change. You can't change them, but you can create the space where they can see the need for that. If, however, the behavior, the words, is really bordering or it is smack dab in the middle of emotional abuse and you feel unsafe you feel, you know, your mental health is not in a good place because of what is constantly happening to you in the relationship, then I think there's need for professional intervention, because you shouldn't just accept that and take it. But from time to time, we will get these negative things happening in relationships. We are human beings, and everything is not always perfect.
I don't even want to respond to that because you've just said so much. I don't want to muddy it. So I'll leave it right there to rest on the spirit of those who are watching, who find themselves in a situation such as this. Folks, you can also reach out to Dr. Denise Charles on social media. Denise Charles, you can find her on social media, and you can also reach out and see what she can do to help you too. Dr. Denise Charles, thank you so much for joining us again this morning, and I do look forward. I'll send the topic to you for next week, so don't worry. I'll send it to you soon.
No problem, Pearson. And let me invite those of you who are watching
Yes.
to join us on Wednesday, International Women's Day. We will be doing a live at 8 p.m. on my Facebook page, so look out. Woman is the topic.
All right. Wednesday coming, International Women's Day. Women, the topic indeed at 8 o'clock. Dr. Denise Charles, thank you so much. See you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Pearson. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you so much. Ooh, what a subject indeed. Take it for what it is, folks. Take it. We're coming back with more in just a moment.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
While you go about your business, we go about our business, and that is gathering the news. Stay up to date at CBC News Barbados on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Get news update on radio throughout the day. And join us for the CBC News Night at 7 every night. CBC News team is on the job and bringing you the news.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country? Well, we at Mornin Barbados would love to have you or them on our Bajan Afar segment. Share your amazing stories, experiences, and how you have adapted to a new culture. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.vb. And together we will travel the world.
Enjoy movies, soaps, drama, comedy, inspiration, education, music, and more. You get it all when you get MCTV, because MCTV gives you more.
Some ask, what makes Barbados so special? We at Mornin Barbados say it's you, our exceptional youth. You are talented, resilient, and inspirational. You are the epitome of the Barbadian spirit, testing the boundaries of your creativity. If you are an entrepreneur, artist, baker, designer, author, or have done anything you think should be highlighted,
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Spot on 22 minutes now to go to the hour of 8 o'clock. We all love to celebrate great news. We all love to meet survivors. And so this morning we want to meet a survivor of colon cancer. His name is Graham Bannister. Good morning to you, Graham. Good to see you again.
Hi, good morning, Pearson. Good to see you as always. And good morning to everyone in Barbados.
Good. Today marks 5 years. Congratulations that you've been cancer-free. How does that feel to acknowledge?
Well, it's a fantastic feeling, actually. 5 years has a lot of meaning for those of us who have been diagnosed with cancers. With the 5-year survival rate that we talk about. My 5-year survival rate was around 90%, given that my cancer was caught early enough and it didn't really pose much of a risk to me. But yes, celebrating today, it's fantastic. I'm very happy that it's also Colon Cancer Awareness Month. And that is bigger significance for me. And March is also going to be my 60th birthday come the 26th of March. So I'm full of celebration for this entire month.
Well, we're celebrating with you, Graham, as well. So it's Colon Cancer Awareness Month. And so you said a phrase earlier, caught early. And so that's the critical point that has to be driven home all the time. There's a lot we can do prior, but caught early. Let's make an appeal to men. What would you say to men, and anyone really, because colon cancer is not just a man's disease, but anyone who is sitting on the sidelines and afraid to take the step to know the health of their colon?
Well, I always say that if you have a colon, and we all do, male or female, we need to talk to our doctors about colon cancer screening. Over 90% of the colon and rectal cancers are actually found in people over the age of 50, but anyone at any age, any race, any ethnicity can get colon cancer at any given time. Young people are now getting the early onset colon cancer as well. So my whole purpose, I made myself the advocate for colon cancer awareness, is to encourage both males and females, but men in particular, because you know us men, we're always very hesitant when it comes to our health, particularly something like colon cancer, to go and get screened. So I've been pushing for it. I've been having sessions with groups, churches, schools, businesses, anyone who's willing to listen, and I am pushing for people to get screening. I'm hoping actually this month to have a panel discussion, myself, another survivor or two, as well as a couple of doctors, again, to raise awareness and to help people to understand that it's for the betterment of themselves. And you have to think of your families as well. It's very important that we do this for our families.
When is that session slated for?
It's not confirmed as yet, but it will be, hopefully, I'm working towards maybe the last week in March. And I will be advertising it and publicizing it. I'm just waiting to hear some more from a couple of the participants to see exactly when they will be available. And then we will start pushing it out in the press to get people more motivated to come and attend and ask questions.
Over 50, you say you should go get regular screenings of your colon. Talk to me a little bit about, was there concern for you when you went to be screened, or did you, in your screening, did you discover then there was something to be concerned about?
Mine was an unusual situation actually. It was a slight pain in my right hand side, which again I've always said it's like when you are exercising you get this little pain. So I decided to go to the doctor that evening, forced by my daughter and my wife and my son. And it turned out then that there was nothing to do on the right-hand side at all. And ultrasound then showed that there was a mass on the left-hand side in the lower colon. And then, of course, I did a CT scan. And then, of course, I had to do the colonoscopy, which confirmed that there was cancer there. When I first went, there was no real concern. I didn't even think about cancer. I was assuming it might have been appendicitis or something that I had eaten. But then to hear that it was cancer after the CT scan and confirmed by the colonoscopy, that's when my life then took a different direction. And it was a roller coaster ride from then until I had the surgery and it was removed. And as I said, fortunately, the lymph nodes weren't inflamed, and I didn't have to do chemo or radiation therapy because I was fortunate enough to have caught it in the early stages.
And what you just shared is that there's a solution. There's something that can happen, and you can, your survivability rate can increase if you take early action. And that's what this whole month seeks to be able to do, to continue to raise awareness of the condition, first of all, and then what one can do in order to be able to survive it. And here you are, a living example of someone 5 years in who has survived colon cancer till now. And so we want to commend you on the organization. What in the month then do you think is on the calendar of activities that will continue to raise awareness publicly?
Well, I am having some discussions. I'm gonna, again, these will come up very soon. I did once before have something called Flying Above Colon Cancer, where I went up with a lovely gentleman from the airport in his ultralight aircraft, again, just to raise awareness. And I am having some discussions with the Ministry of Health and Wellness. And I did hear back from the Minister of State in the Ministry of Health and Wellness, and she did indicate she will get in touch with me to see how I can work with the Ministry of Health and Wellness to get some programs sorted out and gone. I was hoping to have had a couple of events by now, but again, as we're now coming out of the COVID, I didn't do too much planning because I did back in 2020 do a lot of planning and then had to cancel them. So I'm just waiting to see how things are going now, and there will be some advertising coming out as soon as I hear some final word on what we're going to have for this month.
So how did you manage, having had the diagnosis, having had the operation, how long did it take before you felt like your usual self again?
To be honest, Pearson, I would say once I heard the results of the surgery from the surgeon, I then realized things are different and I'm going to be okay. Leading up to it was a bit of a hesitancy, but from the time he told me that we got everything out and the lymph nodes weren't infected and you just have to change your lifestyle and your diet, I then became myself. Even though through the whole process, I tried my best to be as positive as I could be, making jokes with everyone around me.
Yes.
You do have that, as I said, roller coaster ride where sometimes you'll be by yourself and you're bawling your eyes out. But I'm a person that I love to keep making jokes and making people laugh. And I did that through the whole process. And that's the key. Positivity is the real way of making yourself get better quickly, being positive. And that's what I did throughout the whole time.
Trust me, I know. You sound like me. When I've had my own medical experience, that's what I did too. I just thought bare nonsense right through the whole thing, just to laugh and not take it too seriously. But there are people who would need support. Is there an organization that one can reach out to should you find yourself with a diagnosis similar to yours?
Sure. There's the Barbados Cancer Society, of course, that you can contact. And then there's also Cancer Support Services, who are very, very good in helping you, basically holding your hand through the process during and after your diagnosis and your treatment, and they help you through that whole process of treatment as well. So those are two that I would recommend. And of course, anyone who wishes to get any further information can also contact me. I've always said when I'm talking that I'm here for everyone. If you have any concerns or you need someone to even hold your hand through the process of a colonoscopy and share my journey with you, by all means, you can give me a call and reach out. I did share my numbers, I think, with CBC and my email address. And I'm an open book, and I'm here willing to help.
Indeed so. And so, Graham, we salute you on this day, 5 years cancer-free, a living example of someone through his positivity and taking action, getting it caught early. The survivability rate is fantastic indeed, and he's beginning on the cusp of beating the odds, and you can too. So if you want to reach out to Graham, you can get the information from my producer Alicia Alves-Grant, and we'll be happy to share it with you. But reach out to Graham if you think you have some concern. As he said, he's offered to hold your hand right the way through and guide you through the process, because look at him, he's right here, and he is a living, shining example of how things can turn out well for you. Graham, all the best. Again, much success on your continued journey, and happy birthday when it comes around at the end of March. And we wish you the very best on everything you do as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pearson. I do appreciate it. As usual, thanks to you and CBC for helping me get the message out. And it's very easy. My email address for everyone, beatingcoloncancer@gmail.com.
Easy. beatingcoloncancer@gmail.com. beatingcoloncancer@gmail.com. Thank you, Graham. All the best.
Thank you so much. Have a great day, everyone.
You too. Thank you so much. Graham Bannister, beatingcoloncancer@gmail.com. That's the email address, beatingcoloncancer@gmail.com. You can email him as we speak and, say to him you want to talk just a little bit further as well. It might be your condition. You might be afraid to go get the colonoscopy. It might be just a part of your family history. You just need to know more. beatingcoloncancer@gmail.com. Graham Bannister is his name. We're taking a break right here. When we come back, we meet the writer and the director of the film after this.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
While you go about your business, we go about our business, and that is gathering the news. Stay up to date at CBC News Barbados on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Get news update on radio throughout the day. And join us for the CBC News Night at 7 every night. CBC News team is on the job and bringing you the news.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country? Well, we at Mornin Barbados would love to have you or them on our Bajan Affair segment. Share your amazing stories, experiences, and
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
I tell y'all, stop going down by that beach.
You! Get inside the house! I said to get inside. Get inside the house! Hey man, what's up? You don't listen? You are Miss Harris from up your gap. My gap? No. I am so disappointed. I am tired being embarrassed by you.
Yo, what do you for me, man?
Yo, bro,
I'm done.
You're done. Is he done doing walk? Come and carry you home and then you get yourself cleaned up.
Ooh, don't you want to watch that? Don't you want to watch 26, the film? Daniel Boyce is the man who's the writer and he's the director. Daniel, good morning to you.
Good morning, person. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good too, to be honest. Good. Doing really good.
How does it feel to watch your own work be so gripping as we just shared?
I don't even think words could do it justice, you know. A lot of time and effort went into it, so to see it come together as a body of work that, you know, we're seeing on our screens is I don't even think I could put it into words, you know.
You're touching on what we consider to be quite a taboo subject in the Caribbean, violence, and you know how we use what we term discipline, but we're inflicting violence as well. What's the experience or the premise upon your rating of that particular film?
It's the experience of growing up in the Caribbean. I mean, you can go to, let's say you go to a bus terminal in the evenings. You might see a parent who's tired and frustrated and just trying to cope with a child that's being rambunctious, you know. And a lot of times, you know, being tired and overworked and they sometimes our parenting is detrimental to the growth of our children. And, you know, stories and themes like these are stories that you speak to some of your peers, your colleagues, your friends. I'm sure a lot of persons have had less than ideal means of confrontation with their parents as a result in a physical discipline. You know, looking around our styles within the Caribbean.
You know, when we watch the film 26, we're going to see ourselves, we're going to see our own experiences, we'll probably see our mothers be very aptly displayed as well. And so the realism is very rich and real for all of us who are going to be watching. Now, you've been selected to be a part of the upcoming Barbados Film Festival, and that feature work is going to be a part of it. So talk to me about when you found out that they have accepted to share yours as part of the upcoming Barbados Film Festival.
Yeah, I found out about 2 weeks ago. They shot me an email. Of course, that was met with a lot of excitement, a lot of jumping around, a lot of messaging everyone that was involved, you know, telling them that, you know, we were selected. So, you know, huge shout outs to them for appreciating the work and appreciating the work of everyone who gave their time to the project, you know.
How did they know about your work in the first place? Did you have to submit your work?
Yeah. So I had to submit it. There's a website called Film Freeway. That's kind of like the portal you use to submit your short films to festivals like throughout Barbados and internationally. So I had to submit it on there, and I guess they would have watched it and vetted it, and I accepted it.
What I like is that in your film, the actors are speaking in the Barbadian tongue. You hear Barbadian in it, and so oftentimes filmmakers wanted to pretty up their film, so to speak, so it can be received by markets outside of. How important was it for you to capture the Barbadian sound in your work?
Incredibly important, for two main reasons. One, you know, you go and watch a film that's based in Scotland, you don't hear anyone telling them to speak proper English. You don't hear anyone telling them to, drop the accent. Jamaican films, you don't hear anyone telling them to drop the accent. So why do we have to drop our accent for our creative works? And then also, it's putting Barbados out there. Like I've been telling a lot of people that I speak to, you don't really see Caribbean representation in Hollywood. As of late, the African kind of representation is getting up there, but the Caribbean representation, and specifically Barbados, is not there. So I'm gonna do everything I can to get us there, to get that Caribbean and Barbadian representation in cinema.
And I'm so excited about that as well. Is this your first feature film, or have you done more?
Yeah, so this is my first one. I've worked on other ones before, but in terms of like writing and directing it, this is my first offering.
All right, the first is in the Barbados Film Festival coming up. It's called 26 The Film. His name is Daniel Boyce. Big man, but a big talent indeed. And so his film will be shown in the period March 15th to 19th when the Barbados Film Festival gets going, 15th to 19th. So listen up and go out to social media and check and see when his will be shown as well. 26 The Film. I'd love to see it indeed. It looks really, really good. And I really want to wish you all the best, Daniel. Yeah, best of luck with all of your other creations. Something tells me you already have another plan in the works, and I can't wait to see what flows from that as well. See? I can see it in your face. Thank you so much for joining us. All the best.
Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Daniel Boyce, the writer and producer, director of the film 26. Coming soon to a screen near you from the 15th to the 19th of March in the Barbados Film Festival. We'll take a break. We're coming back in just a moment.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country? Well, we at Mornin Barbados will...
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
So there we have it. Coming up, remember, the 15th to the 19th of the month is the Barbados Film Festival. You have to be a part of it. That was just one of the films that you will see during that week. And so we want to encourage you to be a part of the viewing of the great work from the Barbados Film Festival. Also, don't forget, the ongoing month of awareness of colon cancer is this month. We want to encourage you as much as possible to be aware of colon cancer. If it means having to put aside yourself to go have the colonoscopy done, it is advisable that you do so. And colon cancer is not a man's disease. It can affect anyone, women included. Beat colon cancer at gmail.com is an email address you can use to ask for some assistance. Graham Bannister sits at the other end of that email, and he'll be happy to interact with you, to share with you not just his journey and his experience, because today he marks 5 years of being cancer free, and certainly he would want to be able to help you through the transition, the change, the process, everything about colon cancer. Beat colon cancer at gmail.com. I encourage you to reach out today to get to know more. And of course, a lot of that change requires an adjustment in your diet. I know a lot of us, when we hear that, we think, oh my Lord, that means I have to cut out this and that. If it means that for your survival, it means that for your survival. So get to know more. Talk to Graham Bannister. Beat colon cancer at gmail.com. Also want to encourage you in this month of the disabled as well to pay attention to what's happening with our members of our disabled community. They are doing some really great work in our communities. We want to encourage parents of people with disabilities also to join on Saturday at the King George V Memorial Park. That's where they're going to be having a coming together so that there's a bit of a celebration, but also to lean on each other. And then this activity here, run, wheel and walk in the month of the disabled, as on the Saturday the 25th. Yeah, you can do all. Run, walk, or wheel on the 25th, starting at 8 o'clock in the morning from Cheapside, and that's where you'll gather up to Cullimore Rock, and you can be a part of it. We encourage you also to join in all of these other activities. The outdoor movie nights on the 4th, 11th, and 25th of the month, 6:30 evening. It starts each evening. On the 21st, we're going to rock our socks as we continue to raise awareness of children with Down syndrome. All of that and a whole lot more we shared with you today. So get to more involved and get involved indeed. Well, that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us. My producer has been Alicia Asgrant. Our technical director, Samuel Mason. Ruel Ford has been here. So to our sound engineer, our good friend Christopher Bleman, and at Master Control has been the amazing Tamisha Green. I'm Pearson Boyne. For each of them, to all of you, thank you for joining us. Do come back tomorrow. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning.